America. Now, people will scoff at this and say, oh, come on, Savage. A communist revolution means that all the means of production and control are controlled by the government. Well, my friends, we are talking about the society first. If they intimidate you, if they intimidate the people, if they break down the will of the people, everything else will follow. They are so close now to total and absolute power through terror over the average person that I chose to do this a second day in a row. I am focusing on these left-wing fascist scum, these bullies at every level. I have one story after another showing you bullying. Military gays bullying Christians. You ready for this one? California trains professors to avoid microaggressions. Who do you think is behind this at the University of California, which has been decimated by Janet Napolitano? This was once one of the finest universities in the world. It has since fallen into disrepair. It is now in the toilet, in the garbage, because Janet Napolitano has taken over the entire UC system. She is now training faculty members at the University of California to avoid describing America as a, quote, land of opportunity. She says those phrases are offensive microaggressions. According to psychotic anti-white activists, so-called microaggressions are subtle actions, usually unintentional, that perpetuate discrimination against so-called disadvantaged groups, even in environments where overt discrimination has been abolished. So the vermin thought police have now infected the University of California with the chief bug, Janet Napolitano, formally training faculty to avoid and root out these perceived microaggressions for the good of all. You want to hear what else they're not allowed to say? One of the largest categories of microaggressions, according to Janet Napolitano and a left-wing fascist goon squad, are those that promote the myth of meritocracy. Did you hear what I just said to you? The myth of meritocracy. The myth of meritocracy? That's a myth? You mean there are people who are smarter than others? There are people who are swifter than others? Are you crazy? Do you have any idea what this is going to lead to? I know where it leads. I've studied these things. Other things they're not allowed to say is this, quote, I believe the most qualified person should get the job. That's a microaggression. Here's another one. Affirmative action is racist. Hello? What else is it but racism? Other examples of sinister microaggressions, according to Janet Napolitano, are, 1, describing America as a melting pot because it forces people to assimilate. 2, stating that there is only one race, the human race. It denies the significance of a person's ethnic or racial history. So, in other words, the psychotic leftists want segregation. Asking Asians, Hispanics, or Native Americans to speak up more. That pathologizes foreign norms and treats white norms as normal, using he as a generic pronoun for all people. It makes the male experience universal and the female experience invisible. Using forms where individuals must identify as male or female because it excludes the full LGBT experience. Do you have any idea where this sickness has come from? Do you have any idea where this virus ends? Do you have any idea how a civilization melts down? I'm warning you that if you don't stand up to these tyrants, these bullies, I don't care what they call themselves, the country is over. Now, many of you don't believe this is happening because the media continues to bend over backwards to support a president who will not even say the word Islamic when he talks about the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. They call themselves ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and yet this gangster in the White House won't even use the word Islamic. They call themselves Islamic, but he says they aren't. Nevertheless, in this country, in every conceivable space, from immigration policy to law enforcement to education to social policy to the military, Islam is accommodated and defended while Christianity and Judaism are attacked. Left-wing publications print completely false stories about university campus rapes, military rapes that don't exist, while ISIS forces 8-year-old girls to marry if they're Muslim and become sex slaves if they aren't. Where are the feminists who are outraged over these atrocities? Why aren't gay activists marching in the streets over ISIS throwing homosexuals off rooftops? I'll tell you why. They're too busy bullying Christian bakeries and pizzerias out of business for not wanting to bend at the knee to their homosexual weddings. Meanwhile, the Obama bullies have refused to curb illegal immigration through our southern border or to deport them once they're caught in violation of the bully's oath. But let me tell you something. Illegal immigrants from Central and South America are not the biggest immigration threat facing us. Much more dangerous are the hundreds of thousands of Muslims this administration has brought in through its refugee program from war-torn Muslim countries such as Somalia and now Syria. I get that most people don't care. They're listening to, I don't know. We hear the talk radio is aimed only at the dying population of old white men. Well, hey, old white men, welcome to the Savage Nation. Let's enjoy the fall together. Are you kidding me? That's the only audience for talk radio? Who do you believe? That's true? How do you explain that I have a 25 share on devices? Who's listening to me on devices? 70-year-olds or 20-year-olds? Who's listening to Michael Savage, the most listened to streaming talk radio show in the United States of America? Who do you think's listening to me on iPhones and Androids and things like that nature? The young millennials who know what's going on. The very few who do. The very few who are homeschooled. The very few who are Christian. The very few who understand what patriotism is. The very few who come from a military or a police family. They're the backbone of America. Not the drug-addicted left-wing fanatics who've been bullied into submission. That's who I'm talking about. Don't tell me that the only people listening to this radio show are old people. And if it was, so what? You should be ashamed if you're an old person? Suddenly being older is a shame in America? What, it became a thing of pride to be an 18-year-old moron? No, I don't think so. I am showing you what happened yesterday, where a left-winger by the name of Bernie Sanders they attempted to ridicule him with a Jewish blood libel because it's not that he was not left enough, it's that he didn't cater to the Palestinian party line that the National Palestinian Radio espouses. National Palestinian Radio, NPR, is paid for with your money. And the hate du jour is now directed at Jews and Israel. Of course, it's not anti-Semitism. It's just called anti-Zionism. But as Martin Luther King Jr. said famously, make no mistake about it. There ain't no difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. He knew where it was coming from. He knew that the rabid left hated Jews. And so there was Diane Rem. By the way, she's of Arab descent. There was Diane Rem ripping Bernie Sanders apart, saying that he was on a list of members of Congress with dual citizenship. Now, if I had ever done that on this radio show, let's say Barack Obama agreed to an interview with his political opponents, and he came on this show and I said to him, Mr. Obama, isn't it true that you're a Muslim? Tell me what would happen to my career. You know that I wouldn't last another second. There'd be a meltdown of this show. But she goes on the next day like nothing happened, because she's a member in good standing of the fascist brigades that are running this country. It goes on every level of our society. We have the president bullying the Supreme Court. We have the LGBT community bullying everybody. I am sick of it, and we've got to fight back. It is time to fight back against these fascists. They are nothing but fascists in the garb of minority discrimination cases. Period. End of story. Don't tell me there's no such thing as a meritocracy. Let's apply it to the football field. You're telling me that a 110-pound woman can be a fullback on a football team? Wouldn't that be nonsense? Let's make it very simple for these psychotics. Why, there's meritocracy there. Let's put a 110-pound man in the ring with a 220-pound heavyweight. Let's talk about meritocracy. Why, the heavyweight will blow on him and knock him down. Is that not meritocracy? He's a better fighter. Where are your brains? How do you buy into this crap? How did these infested morons get so powerful? How did a psychotic like Janet Napolitano be handed the keys to the University of California? In my day, that woman couldn't run a ding-dong school. She would have been fired running an elementary school in Mississippi somewhere for the abuse of the children. Now she's running one of the ex-great universities in the world. Look what she's done to it. Of course there's meritocracy. Are you crazy? You mean the engineers who created the first rocket to the moon didn't do so because they were smarter than the people who couldn't be engineers? You mean that surgeon with a scalpel in his hand who performs the most intricate kind of surgery has not achieved that through meritocracy? Where are you brains, you leftist psychotics, you? When are you going to wake up to what you have done to this country and admit finally? You're going to call the show one day and say, Michael Savage, I was wrong. Michael Savage, you were right. Michael Savage, keep it up. Michael Savage, speak out for us. Otherwise, all is lost. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-COI. Since Obama has seized control of this nation, he has used the bully pulpit to bully everyone in this nation into submission. He certainly has bullied the Republicans into submission. They don't exist as a loyal opposition. They don't exist at all. We know that. The street thugs in Ferguson, the street thugs in Baltimore, bullying the cops. The ACLU bullying Christians everywhere. Muslims in America bullying you everywhere to tell you that, wait a minute now, how dare you even ask us about our loyalty? You have no right to ask us. What are you even looking at us for? Who are you to say that most of the terrorism in the world is caused by Muslims? Are you crazy? That's not true. And even if it is, it's racist. The illegal aliens who have been allowed to soar over our borders, running amok in America, demanding everything for free. Yes, you heard me. And if they were all coming here to work, then how do you account for the fact that 1/3 of all of our prisoners are non-citizens? Put that into your pot pipe and smoke it. Obama bullying the Supreme Court. Al Sharpton bullying the police. Wherever you turn, bullying, bullying, bullying. There are many examples. I played an example of a creep on NPR putting a Jewish blood libel on the leftist Bernie Sanders, which is kind of ironic because Bernie Sanders is an outright communist from the get-go. I mean, a classic communist. And yet he wasn't leftist enough for the pro-Palestinian National Palestinian Radio. Listen to the interchange between this creature on NPR, who I never heard of, by the way. I have no idea why she's on the air, attacking Bernie Sanders, implying he is liable as a Jew. Listen.
Senator, you have dual citizenship with Israel.
Well, no, I do not have dual citizenship with Israel. I'm an American. I don't know where that question came from. I am an American citizen, and I have visited Israel on a couple of occasions. No, I'm an American citizen, period.
I understand from a list we have gotten that you were on that list. Forgive me if that...
You little
that's some of the nonsense that goes on in the
Good
Internet.
for you, Bernie. Spit in their face. She's got to list that little fascist...
Are there members of Congress
Are there any members of the party there, huh, you lousy...
Or is
shut up. Get her off my show. Why wasn't she fired? Because there's no opposition party. No opposition party. This woman never belonged on the air. Why is she on the air? Because she does the bidding of National Palestinian Radio. That's why. Any other questions? 855-407-282. Wherever you turn, the Lilliputians have taken over the country. You remember Jerry Lewis with his Labor Day telethon? Remember the great work he did? He raised hundreds of millions of dollars for children with muscular dystrophy. Do you remember what they did to Jerry Lewis? Do you remember what the haters did to him? They said that he wasn't right for the job anymore. Headline: Muscular dystrophy finally ends Labor Day show after firing Jerry Lewis and killing telethon. Roger Friedman, Showbiz 411. They killed their golden goose. Muscular Dystrophy Association decided no more TV special on Labor Day weekend. This is probably an old story. They had already destroyed the 21-hour annual telethon after kicking Jerry Lewis to the curb. They said that the show was a fraud, and they got rid of him. And so what happened was they couldn't raise any more money. The show, after he left, was whittled down to a 2-hour pre-tape, a shadow of what Jerry Lewis had done with it. And now it's gone altogether. Why? Why did they get rid of Jerry Lewis? The Jerry's Kids rubric meant so much to people who had little hope and a lot of problems. But the new Muscular Dystrophy Association, the PC Muscular Dystrophy Association, is so out of touch with reality that after firing Jerry Lewis, the organization itself is fundamentally gone. That's what will happen to America if you let the left-wing fanatics continue on their rampage against everything decent in this country, whether it be in police departments, whether it be in the military, whether it be in the universities. It does not matter where. The vermin on the left have touched everybody equally with their psychotic poison. The radical LGBT community has unleashed an epidemic of bullying unlike any seen in American history. We have the president bullying the Supreme Court. We have the LGBT community bullying everybody. We have Muslims bullying the entire West. We have street thugs in Baltimore bullying cops. How do you feel about that? You better stand up and be counted. I'm warning you. And that means whether you're on a supermarket line, or at a PTA meeting, don't let these monsters take over that meeting and tell you what to think. You stand up and you speak out. Be red-faced about it. Be embarrassed about it. But get the guts or you're going to lose everything. I'm warning you.
Savage.